We all know how Krennic got his credit stolen with the Death Star project, but also the amazing Delta-class shuttle would have never been produced if it wasn't for the keen eye of the director.
We stand here amidst my achievement, not yours!
What's up, meta nerds? This video will be a complete breakdown in history of the Delta-class T-3c Shuttle. It was most famously used by Director Orson Krennic, and it has a ton of features that make it one of the most unique shuttles in the galaxy. The Delta-class was manufactured by Cygnus Spaceworks and Sinar Fleet Systems, the creators of all the Empire's other iconic folding wing-style shuttles. These were officially called the Abecedarian line of shuttles, and the ship's engineer Lamia Tion got the inspiration for these wings from her love of paper folding art, the Star Wars origami, and saw that it had a practical purpose of reducing the footprint in the hangar. With the wings in the upright position, the Delta had a height of 25.1 meters, or 82 feet and 4 inches, which is roughly an Ewok plus a Wookiee taller than an AT-AT. While its length of 14.39 meters, or 47 feet 2 inches, was more than twice that of the TIE Fighter. There are no official numbers for its width, but it appears to be around 50 meters or 164 feet when in flight, which would be about 8 TIE Fighters across. Now, these long wing-like structures may seem impractical, but they were the result of some really interesting engineering. Almost all of the Imperial shuttles produced by Sinar Fleet Systems and Cygnus Spaceworks have these origami-inspired wings. The first reason was, as I mentioned, just to take up less room in the hangar. When its 4 landing pads came out, there was a nice sturdy base, with all of its profile going up instead of out to the sides. We take this for granted with the Empire, but just imagine how impractical something like the Naboo ships would be sitting inside of a military hangar. These wings also gave it better stability in the wide range of atmospheres that the Delta-class would be slicing through. But I would say the most impressive engineering aspect is that each of these wings are lined with deflector shield projectors. Ships have deflector shield generators usually located in the main body of the ship, often right near the bridge or cockpit, but it is your projectors that send out the shield to create a protective bubble around the ship. That's why you can have phrases like,
"Switch all power to front deflector screen. Try and hold them off. Angle of deflector shield while I make the calculations for the jump to light speed."
So it isn't like there's separate shield generators in each of those locations, but shorthand for saying that you want to put more power into projecting that shield to a particular area. But in the case of the Delta-class, they actually did put 2 separate deflector shield generators, and then designed these wings so that they split up space around it into 3 separate parts, and each of these wings were lined with multiple shield projectors. 2 generators and numerous projectors gave you a highly refined response to any incoming attacks. And we can imagine that mastering this complex shield projector system required some of the top talent in the Empire. And the Delta-class had a 6-man crew, a pilot, co-pilot, navigator, gunner, comms operator, and engineer. And with their talents, they were able to triangulate the projection of the shields, or even triangulate to multiple locations at once since you had those 2 separate generators. All of this meant that it wasn't just a vague forward or rear, but pinpointed to anywhere in this sphere of coverage. The wings also housed the secure HoloNet and subspace transmitter arrays, allowing the Delta-class to stay in constant contact with the Empire, even while in the most remote parts of the galaxy or even in hyperspace. And then the tips of each of these wings also had their own laser cannon, in addition to the 2 dual laser cannons mounted on the hull. All of these systems required an enormous amount of power and fuel, which made up a majority of the volume of the interior of the main body, which is also where they house the enormous pair of ion engines. We get a good look at the thrust that these can generate when it took off from the secret weapons facility on Iadu. When the engines engaged, they sent Jyn Erso flying off the platform. These SFS-215 ion engines could get it up to a top atmospheric speed of 1,000 km per hour, or 621 miles per hour, making it just a bit slower than the X-Wing, tied with the Sentinel-class shuttle, and an impressive 150 km per hour faster than the Lambda. This engine array would also house the hyperdrive, which included the top-of-the-line SFS IG-45 Class 1 hyperdrive, along with a backup Class 10. This gave the shuttle the ability to transport its VIPs across the galaxy in as quick a time as possible, being faster than an Imperial Star Destroyer, and only highly modified ships like the Millennium Falcon were faster. On top of all this, the entire ship was wrapped in this radar-scrambling skin, this black paint job containing material that was similar to the Death Trooper's armor, which was covered in a spray polymer called Reflect, something that would alter the electromagnetic waves utilized by most sensors. As for its history, originally Sinar Fleet Systems created the Delta-class as a sort of concept ship, something that could test the theory of a stealth shuttle with these great shield-projecting wings. But like most awesome concept designs, they never intended to actually produce these in great numbers. No Delta-class shuttles were slated to be incorporated into the Empire until Director Krennic set his eyes on the design. He was attracted to the look, but he fell in love with the ship's capabilities. being the ultimate shuttle for one who wished to traverse the galaxy quickly while remaining undetected, and all the while being impervious to any chance of attack by pirate gangs or rebels with that impressive shield array. The official cost once it was sold to the Empire was 160,000 credits, which is only 20k more than the Lambda, and a little more than 2 TIE fighters, and the one that Krennic picked up was designated ST-149. But to put this ship in context, it's important to remember that most of the Imperials wanted their position for the privileges it provided. In the time of the Empire, political power was the ultimate status symbol and best means to luxury. No longer strength, hard work, intellect, or your credits. And as you would expect, the Imperial shuttles had lavish quarters for the important imps on board, but not Krennic's shuttle. The cabin was specialized for the 6 death troopers that escorted him everywhere, and even his personal quarters were very Spartan. The Delta could carry 30 passengers, which in Krennic's case might just be filled with more troopers or other research VIPs. And your standard amount of supplies on board were said to last for 3 months. Though not a mainstay like the Lambda or Sentinel, Krennic would use this ship for over a decade. We saw it in 0 BBY being used to go kidnap Galen Erso, later at the research station on Iadu, and then to Mustafar to visit Darth Vader's castle, before meeting its ultimate end on Scarif. The shuttle would have likely been destroyed by the debris raining down from the main tower on Scarif after Krennic got sniped by the Death Star. If not by this debris, then it was likely vaporized as the explosion spread. That's it for its breakdown, but there's some really cool additional facts and behind the scenes stuff I wanted to mention. There was one other person that was known to use the Delta-class shuttle. It was Imperial Inspector Magna Tolvan, who used it during her hunt for the hacker and archaeologist Dr. Aphra between the years 0 to 3 ABY. There's also kind of a funny lore play on the intense rivalry between Krennic and Tarkin, with Tarkin always finding ways to appear more important than Krennic, being something that is mirrored in their ships. Tarkin has an actual stealth ship, the Carrion Spike, that can go invisible not just to equipment but even the naked eye, while Krennic of course only has the next best thing. Just under it, number 2 on the list of best stealth ships in the galaxy as it were. Also, the Carrion Spike was considered to be the fastest ship in the Imperial Navy, despite both having a Class 1 hyperdrive. This may be the result of a variety of factors that make it slightly faster when traveling through the Blue Void, but it's also hilarious to think that they might be the same speed, and Tarkin's ship just gets the title of fastest in the Empire. There's also a funny story with Krennic's personal aide, Captain Dunstig Taro, whose role it was to keep Krennic up to date with important Imperial messages, while also acting as the ship's pilot for a majority of the time. Taro came to love the Delta-class so much that he nicknamed the ST-149 the Pterodon, the ancient flying reptile having a similar profile with its enormous wings and its head protrusion, while also being a playoff of his own name. The comic that was mentioned earlier was Dr. Aphra 16, but when it appears here and in the Rogue One comic adaptation, it has a red engine glow despite being blue everywhere else. The Delta-class also has its own Lego set, and a ton of books that have expanded on its details, including the Rogue One Visual Guide, Cyclopedia of Starfighters, and most in-depth was the Dawn of the Rebellion RPG guide. So that's it for the Delta-class T-3c Shuttle. Be sure to hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to check out the description, where you can find ways to support this channel for free, pick up cool Star Wars merch, free audiobooks, or even check out our Patreon and PayPal. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, especially our $25 tier Chris Garcia, Andrew Ban, Seraph Diaz, and Cass Costello. But most important of all, remember, Erso had the genius, Krennic had the vision, but Tarkin understood politics. And the Force will be with you, always.